All right, first one we got here is gonna be a dumbbell glute bridge. I'm gonna take my shoes off because there's too much motion in this as well. I wanna be connected to the floor as much as possible. Toe socks, baby. Okay, so the reason I like the dumbbell is because when you descend, the width or the girth of the dumbbell will actually prevent me from going too low to deactivate my glutes, all right? So the whole point is to keep the tension in my butt, all right? So what I'm gonna do here, lock it into place. Okay, so a big key here is I'm gonna get down in this position, and this will basically be my bottom position right here, okay? Shoulder blades off. This is as low as I wanna go. So the rib cage is locked down. Instead of having this break, I don't want this thing going. I actually want a full lever position going, boom. So what I'm doing is I'm pushing into the floor through my heels and squeezing my butt. Literally, that's all I'm trying to do. I'm not trying to get this up at all. I'm not trying to move the weight up. I'm just trying to squeeze my glutes as hard as possible, okay? So it's gonna be 6 to 8. And then unsqueeze my glutes. As you can see, my head follows my torso instead of being broken like this, right? Spinal alignment is key. Right, easy to drop. So as you can see, it's quite a partial movement, but at the same time, all I'm doing is squeeze my ass cheeks, all right? So squeezing as hard as I can at the top. If you notice, my lower abs are belly button to spine, so I wanna keep them tight as possible to make sure that the glute contraction stays tight as possible, because if the lower abs get out of place, if I start pushing out against the dumbbell, then my lower back and my hip flexors take over, which is no bueno if you want that booty. Okay, so I have a leg press, so I'm gonna use leg press. This program is obviously variable. I was gonna go with a one-legged step up, which provides a different set of benefits, but I got a leg press, so I was gonna go one-leg leg press. And what I basically wanna do is shift the focus to the quads, okay? So on the acceleration or the exertion or the concentric, whatever you want to call it, the output, I'm going to actually kind of skip my foot up. So I'm going to slide it up. It's going to put tension in the quad, okay? And take a nice slow descent on the way down, and then again initiate from the quad. So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to get up there, and I'm just basically trying to go squeeze and then unsqueeze and then squeeze. That's what I'm trying to do, okay? Okay, so next is going to be a barbell bench press, but what I want to do is I want to actually add some function to it. So the bench press doesn't ever equate to a push-up. So I know some really badass coaches that can pec deck fly 400 pounds or they can bench 309,000 pounds, but they can't do 20 push-ups. Okay, so what I want to do is make the bench more functional. All right, so I actually pulled this idea from my homie Justin, Simple Man, S-I-I-I, because the third IC is all is what he says on Instagram if you want to check him out. Very awesome individual. It's like my homie for life, soulmate, one of mine. All right, so actually wearing his ring on my ring finger. Well, that's my ring finger, but this is my ring finger other side. So anyway, maybe we're married, who knows, okay? Don't judge. So basically what we're gonna do is gonna add some chains on there to create a little bit of balance. And then because I have chains, you don't have to, it doesn't need to, okay? But at the same time, what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna pull my legs up, I'm gonna shorten my ab wall. So I'm gonna lift my hips up just a little bit to make sure my abs are tightened. I'm also gonna make sure my belly button goes to spine again, and that's gonna ensure stability, it's gonna have me balance a little bit, and it's gonna help me really, really think about control, and then I can think about squeezing my pecs as well. So maybe start without chains if you haven't ever used chains, but then work on that movement, all right? So if you need somebody there to help spot you, it might be a good idea. I've done this a few times, so very important. So engage that core as you guys side, kind of let it slip a little bit. It gives my brain a lot of things to think about, keeps me in the moment, so it has become this rudimentary, just single-based, boring ass movement. All right, so I'm gonna do that 3 rounds or 5 rounds with 30 seconds rest in between. We've got a pretty dope little machine here. It's a single, kind of a standing, half kneeling, lying hamstring curl, not lying. It's like confusing, bro. All right, so initiate with the hamstring as goal. Keep my hips pinned into the pad as the goal as well too. So nice and slow. Also focus on the breathing. So what I want to do is I want to pull in through the nose on my eccentric or the down or the negative, whatever you want to call it, as I lower the weight. So into my diaphragm, and then exhale and use that power from the diaphragm to propel my movement and contraction on the concentric, the lift, the contraction, whatever you want to call it. So as you can see there, what I wanted to do is I wanted to point my toe or leave it kind of relaxed, because that actually focuses about 30% more into the hamstring isolation. So you can't really isolate the hamstring, but if you flex your foot like this versus point, you're gonna get the gastroc or the calf or the big guy on the bottom of your, or the back of your leg on the bottom to take over 30% of that movement. So a little trip, take your mind off that pain. Here we go, so try that. What's up? Well, you know, just chilling, watch my bar, right? Bam. Okay, so something I haven't been able to do for a while, and now I'm actually happy to do in a rack, is a shoulder press from the pins, okay? So this is actually set like a 10 to 15 degree incline, because most people, including myself, don't really have the real shoulder mobility. So true shoulder mobility is if I will come, keep my rib cage locked down and reach all the way up. It's not bad, right? But a lot of people do this. Boom, they break. So they have excellent shoulder mobility, right? Which is not the case, all right? So rib cage down, extend all the way. That's where it's gonna go. So if you can see, I'm on like a 10 to 15 degree angle. So what I wanna do is offset that so I'm not trying to exaggerate and pin or impinge anything in my shoulder. All right, so what I'm gonna do is make sure this comes to a dead stop every time, still keeping tension, but explode off the pins for 6 to 8. So I'm gonna shove my back into the pad too. So my feet right here are just blasting back and keeping my whole back pinned into the pad. feels good. Okay, so again, I forgot to really engage my breathing at the start, and you can kind of see the disruption that it caused. Okay, so once I inhaled back into my diaphragm, exhaled through my diaphragm, I was able to get a lot more engagement in the entire movement. So next one is going to be the seated row. Now I want you to just guys see something really cool. These prime handles are phenomenal. So they give the optimal grip, as you can see, not a handle, to really activate and get your forearms out of the way and really start working any kind of back muscle tissue you're really shooting after, okay? So there's so many different ways that you can do this row, with the upper back, traps, lats, whatever it wants to be. So with the upper back, I want to show you a few different ways, okay? So, all right, so hip flexion is going to be a big deal. If you have your hips up here, this could really limit how much you can and can't work the back. So a lot of people will have them just place here, squeeze their knees against the pad to create some stability. And if in a sense they're going too heavy to fall forward, I'll lighten that weight and just slow the rep down, okay? So you can work the upper traps, which is the most common when people lean back, right? So as you can see, I'm leaning back, I'm gonna row. It goes straight into the traps, okay? A lot of people, including the master trainer at a recent gym that I was going to be a nutrition at, they have extremely kyphotic posture, right? And they're like, okay, I'm gonna do a lat movement, and it's all up here like this. It's no bueno, okay? All you're doing is exaggerating this stuff, whatever you're doing, leaning to your phone, typing on the computer, eating. We all get there, right? That's why I like to sit and squat while I eat. Okay, so in a sense, what I wanna do is make sure my lats are getting engaged or my mid-back might get some work, okay? The point is to initiate this movement before this movement, okay? This is like a cinch, like you're gonna cinch the movement down after this has already been exhausted, okay? So to work the mid-back, what you can do is you can go straight to the mid-back and then pull, and then to work the lats, what you wanna do is down and then pull through, okay? So again, down and pull through, and then again, you're gonna sweep back under. So those are 3 different ranges that you can work with one simple machine. And now I have 5 different sets, so which one am I gonna do? Right now I haven't been getting a lot of lat focus, so I'm gonna actually work lats, and I'm gonna go into mid-back for the last 2 sets, because the lats will get exhausted, and I can actually pre-exhaust and therefore isolate or bias the upper back, mid-back a little bit more. Nice little stretch at the end there. Oh, roll.